During and following a recent House Judiciary Committee hearing, Republicans tied themselves in knots to paint the Trump-appointed Republican FBI Director, Christopher Wray, as an anti-Trump, anti-Republican hatchet man for Democratic President Joe Biden. Intrigued? Then click that like, subscribe, and the alert bell, and enjoy the video. So the recent House Judiciary Committee hearing was full of great, epic viral moments of profound Republican stupidity and corruption and hypocrisy, and also some truly spectacular call-outs and clapbacks by Democratic congresspeople. And we could probably do like 4 days worth of videos covering that one hearing. But one video or one clip or one series of clips I want to draw attention to is this exchange beginning with Harriet Hageman, who is a Republican Congresswoman from Wyoming, and the witness in that House Judiciary Committee hearing, which is Christopher Wray. Now, as a reminder, Christopher Wray has been the FBI director since I think it was 2017. He was appointed by Donald Trump, Republican, and he himself is a Republican, and he's a holdover into the Biden administration. Now, he was subject to extraordinary grilling by Republicans who tried to use him as basically a punching bag or, a scapegoat for all of their frustrations with the fact that the Justice Department occasionally will hold Republicans accountable when Republicans do incredibly stupid and criminal things. They don't like that. They want a two-tier justice system in which they can benefit, and sometimes they don't always benefit, and that's their frustration. So I want to play this clip from Harriet Hageman and this exchange between her and Director Wray because it's really good. And then we're going to play a second clip from another Republican congressman who went on Fox News to kind of unpack it afterwards. But let's hear it from the Congresswoman and the director.
Mr. Wray, from the Twitter files, Missouri versus Biden disclosures, the Durham investigation and report, and exposure and collapse of the Russian collusion hoax, the American people fully understand that there is a two-tier justice system that has been weaponized to persecute people based on their political beliefs, and that you have...
You can see him bristling already. You see that he's like, oh, because this is like hours into the hearing at this point. This is not early on. They have called Ray everything except his Christian name. I mean, he's probably fed up at this point.
That you have personally worked to weaponize the FBI against conservatives. I asked Mr. Durham about this, to which he answered, I don't think that things can go too much further with the view that law enforcement, particularly the FBI or Department of Justice, runs a two-tiered system of justice. The nation can't stand under those circumstances. Director Wray, what are you prepared to do to reform federal law enforcement in a manner which earns back the trust of the American people?
So again, I mean, you could see while she made those baseless accusations and cherry-picked quotes from the Durham report and hardly a beacon itself of veracity and objectivity, you can see he's getting fed up. So let's hone in on his response.
Well, first off, I would disagree with your characterization of the FBI and certainly your description of my own approach. The idea that I'm biased against conservatives seems somewhat insane to me, given my own personal background. As to how we are approaching our work of protecting the American people and upholding the Constitution, it starts with me having emphasized to all of our folks over and over and over again in everything we do that we need to do the right thing in the right way, and that means following the facts wherever they lead, no matter who likes it.
Okay, so the fact in particular that he would, I mean, again, this goes to show early on Director Wray was pretty civil, and not that was like, it wasn't like he was flipping tables there or whatnot, but to call her words insane, it's true because, again, he is a lifelong conservative, a lifelong registered Republican, appointed by a Republican president, confirmed by a Republican Senate. So the facts clearly show that he's not biased against conservatives or Republicans. So her accusation is indeed insane, and it's good that he's no longer mincing words in that respect. Now, I want to follow it up with an appearance by another congressman in the aftermath of these hearings on the Fox Propaganda Network, where this line of question is pursued. I think it's by Fox and Friends. I think it's Steve Doocy asks this person about it, like, hey, look, following up on this, Christopher Wray is a Republican. What's that mean to you?
One of the interesting sound bites yesterday, and we've already played it today, was where he said, the director said, it's insane to say that I'm biased against conservatives given his personal background. He's a registered Republican. He worked during the Bush administration. He was appointed by Donald Trump. Do you think that turned any heads?
Well, it may have, but right now, today, he works for Joe Biden. He works for President Joe Biden today. And what we've seen with the FBI, you know, they always say there's an issue identified and they're going to make change, positive change. They're going to make sure they don't do it again. They're not going to continue to violate American citizens' rights to free speech and censorship.
So again, note the complete dodge, right? So this is Republican Congressman Troy Nehls, and he's basically like, listen, the Fox propaganda host Steve Doocy is like, listen, what he says is true. He's a registered Republican. He's worked for Republican administrations, not just the Trump administration, but also one of the Bush administrations. Does that not mean anything to you? And the guy completely pivots. Well, today he works for Joe Biden. So that goes to show right now. I mean, he just that guy telegraphed the game. He's like, listen, the way a person is registered, the way a person votes, their professional history working for Republicans, the fact that they were sought by Republican administrations in these high-profile pivotal positions, none of that means anything. It's irrelevant. It ceases to be relevant and it ceases to be a feather in their cap as long as they continue to work in the government under a Democrat. We saw this with Dr. Anthony Fauci, too. Dr. Fauci was appointed by Ronald Reagan, right, who was the Republican darling, the Republican cult leader before Trump. He worked under Democratic and Republican administrations, but none of that mattered to Republicans, to Republican officials. If you are willing to work in some sort of government capacity under a Democrat, even in something like the FBI, law enforcement, you're not really a political appointee. You're working in law enforcement. Or in Dr. Fauci's case, you're working for the National Institute of Health, right? That doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. If you agree to work for the government, to be a patriot, to serve your country under a Democrat, your Republican bona fides cease to matter. We don't care. It counts for nothing. That's what loyalty means to this party. And I'll just simply close with this. Okay, this is a clip from 2017, one of our favorite Fox propagandists, Maria Bartiromo. This is about a 12-second clip in which she reports on the nomination of Christopher Wray back in 2017 to FBI director.
President Trump is just tweeting about the FBI director. Here's what he says. I will be nominating Christopher A. Wray, a man of impeccable credentials, to be the next director of the FBI. Details to follow. President.
That's a reminder. Christopher Wray is a lifelong Republican who has served under Republican presidents who sought him for high-profile positions. He's been confirmed by Republican Senates, and he's been a lifelong conservative. Whether or not Republican officials find that convenient is irrelevant. The fact of the matter is that, if anything, he would probably have a bias for Trump, for Republicans, for conservatives. But that's inconvenient to the current Republican Party's narrative.